Well, here we go. As forecast, it is starting to snow in many areas around the state. This is a live picture outside of Bow Mountain right now. Of course, yesterday, beautiful day, but everyone was telling us that it was going to be changing, and now that change is arriving.
Yeah, it's snowing in some places near the foothills as well, and in the mountains a lot. This is what you're looking at. Is you don't see anybody on I-70 over Vail Pass because they've been having huge problems on I-70, lots of crashes. It's very slick. It's closed in both directions over Vail Pass. CDOT is calling this a safety closure because there have been several crashes and slide-offs, and you know how those things happen. Once you have one, you get about 50. So they just kind of decide to call it good for a while.
Shut it down until they can get it all cleaned up. The weather has been moving in towards the metro area. So let's go to Chris Bianchi in the Weather Center. Corey Reppenhagen out in Lakewood. We've got people keeping an eye on everything. Chris, let's start with you and the lay of the land as we speak at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, hey Tom, hey Kim, you were mentioning what we're seeing up at Vail Pass. That was in association with a snow squall that moved its way through I-70. That's when you get these kind of narrow bursts of really strong winds and really heavy snow, and that's basically a thunderstorm in snow version. That's what we saw up at Vail Pass, and that's why, unfortunately, we're seeing so many incidents out that way. Meantime, here along the Front Range, Lookout Mountain, if you kind of squint, if you've eaten enough carrots and you squint, you can probably see a few of those flakes flying out here in downtown Denver, but the heaviest of the snow off to our south and west, and that is moving its way in our direction. And again, the heaviest of the snow right now in the mountains, but gradually, slowly but surely, we are seeing that snow fill on in here around the metro area. And we're seeing a few flakes flying in a lot of areas, especially south and west of Denver. I think east of I-25, we're mostly just seeing cloudy skies at this point. But everybody going to get in on some of this snow over the next couple of hours around 6 o'clock. Those flakes noticeable for pretty much everybody. And then after dark tonight, that's when we'll probably see that accumulation start to kick on in. Temperatures for the most part just a bit too warm right now in the metro area for accumulation. That will change tonight. And the snow mostly done by about midnight tonight, maybe even about 10, 11 o'clock or so tonight. Maybe a flurry or two after midnight, but this should be done by the time you wake up tomorrow morning. There's another look statewide. That snow in the mountains fizzles on out over the next few hours. And by the time we wake up tomorrow morning, not only will we have a little bit of fresh snow, but it's going to be our coldest night of the season as well. I'm going to have details on just how cold it's going to get. That's another story. And also more details on those accumulations, what you can expect here in Denver coming up, Tom and Kim, in the next half hour.
Yes. So this one counts then. As our first, you know, like we were saying how much you have to get, so this one will count?
Most likely. So to kind of recap, you need a 1/10 of an inch or more at Denver International Airport. And Tom, Kim, I also want to clarify that we here at 9 News have nothing to do with the fact that the official count is out at DIA. That's the Weather Service's call. But just as a reminder, you need a 1/10 of an inch or more at DIA for this to officially count.
It's funny you should mention the National Weather Service.
I know, because we're just going to mention that. This is a good segue. Thank you, Chris. Because the National Weather Service is out testing a new product to help people better understand how winter storms like today's impact a specific area.
Yeah, their design is meant to make for a more personal forecast. With more on that, as well as that storm that's finding the Denver metro area, is meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen. Corey?
Hey Tom, yeah, we've got some snow flurries just starting to move in here into the Lakewood area. Very light at the moment, but we know that those heavier showers that Chris was talking about, a little bit in the higher terrain, are now at the point we're going to start pressing into the Denver area. So we might get to see something a little bit more magical. Now, when we are preparing you for these storms before they come in, we're throwing a lot of information at you, a lot of factors, and they're kind of in broad areas. So it's kind of your job to kind of figure out what that all means for you specifically. But meteorologists are always trying to make those forecasts a little bit more specific and a little bit more personal. And I think the National Weather Service is trying something out that might just accomplish that.
The amount of snow that's expected to fall is not always the best way to figure out how a winter storm might impact you. There are other factors like wind and temperature that play just as big of a role. Now the National Weather Service has a new product called the Winter Weather Storm Severity Index. It takes all the weather conditions in the forecast and predicts a level of impact from minor to extreme. It's primarily geared to winter travel.
And if it says to expect moderate or significant impacts, might be a good idea to either change your plans or come up with a different route or lots of different options to look at.
National Weather Service meteorologist Paul Schlatter says the program predicted minor impacts in the Denver area for Thursday night. That's mainly due to slushy roads and some visibility issues from falling snow. The impact levels on this product are catered to very specific locations instead of just giving a wide area of impact like the Denver Metro, for example.
What's one of the powerful things about this new tool is that it uses GIS-based map background, so you can zoom in to wherever you are and see what those impacts might be there.
And you know that product, the catchy name WWSSI, is available online digitally. So we'll provide you with the link to the National Weather Service website so that you can check that out. And they'd love to get your feedback to see if this product is kind of in the experimental phase, is actually helping you out. And as far as the storm, guys, we'll watch it move into the Denver metro area and see if we actually get some of those minor winter storm impacts here in the metro.
Good to know. We all want to.
We'll see what it does. Thanks,
Thank you,
Corey. We turn now to the woman who was hit by a train while sitting detained in a police car. Well, she could now face a felony charge herself. At least that's what her attorney is saying.
This is a case that got national attention for good reason. Police parked a car on the tracks and then put their suspect in the car before a train smashed into it. Before that collision, however, someone else had claimed the woman had been involved in a case of road rage with a gun. Investigative reporter Jeremy Hahola spoke to the woman's attorney. And Jeremy, charges haven't been filed, but they may be coming.
Yeah, I spoke with the attorney for this woman today. She's at home recovering with numerous broken bones, but he says that he was notified by prosecutors a charge is on the horizon, that it is coming. In the meantime, prosecutors are also deciding if police should be charged too. This happened nearly 2 months ago when a Platteville police officer parked his car on the train tracks during a traffic stop. After Yareni Rios Gonzalez was placed in his police car, a freight train collided with that unit. Now, before all of this happened, a 911 caller claimed that she pulled a gun on him during a road rage incident. The civil attorney for Rios Gonzalez says the 911 caller was actually the aggressor and that she feared for her life. He calls the upcoming charge against her puzzling.
Well, I think the police should be charged. I don't think my client should be charged. I have to look at what their motivation is for bringing these charges. I mean, the fact that they're not charging the police is the motivation that's going to be my pending civil lawsuit. She still has broken bones. She is recovering, but, it seems that Weld County wants to re-victimize her again.
A few weeks ago, we were able to track down the man who claimed road rage. A Fort Lupton police report indicates that he admitted to brake checking Rios Gonzalez. We got that caller on the phone a few weeks ago. We are not naming him just yet. Here's what he told us back then.
I was trying to get away from the scenario, so it kind of was a back and forth thing, and then it led up to her coming up to my passenger side window. And that's when I saw her pull up, and then her window was down. And then I looked and noticed that she was pointing a handgun at me.
At this point, based on documents that we've reviewed, it is that caller's word against the word of the woman here, Rios Gonzalez. She claims she never pointed a gun. Deputies did recover a gun in her truck after the collision. There is no video of that alleged road rage incident. In the meantime, the district attorney's office continues to review if police should be charged in this case too. The officer who parked on the tracks, his name is Pablo Vasquez. He is still on paid leave. We reported earlier a couple weeks ago, that he was called incompetent and unsafe at a prior police agency. In the meantime, the district attorney's office will not confirm nor deny that a charge is coming against her.
Clinically, they're separate things, the road rage and the train incident.
Very separate things.
In real life,
yeah,
they aren't.
Yeah. I mean, they intersect in a way, right? Because that was the thing that led up to the police officer, to pull her over. But the timing of this will be interesting. If she is charged before the officers, I'd imagine that is not going to sit well with a lot of the public who saw this. And there's video of that incident.
Yeah.
Nothing of the other one.
Nothing of the road rage incident.
There's more to come on
Yeah,
this,
there's more to come. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yep.
Well, at least 3 people were taken to the hospital and multiple people had to be rescued after a fire at an apartment complex in Arapahoe County that started off Parker Road in Mississippi. And that's where 9 News reporter Luis De Leon is this morning. And Luis is this afternoon, I should say. And Luis, there still is no word about a cause yet, right?
Yeah, Tom, at least not as of around 2 p.m. this afternoon. You can probably see right over my shoulder at least one of the pretty badly damaged apartment units in this complex. We're still not sure how many people are displaced because of this fire, but we know that the South Metro Fire Department is working with an Arapahoe County Department to determine how much of the building, what portions could be reoccupied. It is a fairly large building here. Here's what we know so far. South Metro Fire tells us that this started at around 12:20 on the second floor and then spread to the third. In total, more than a dozen people had to be evaluated. 3 were taken in the hospital. No word on their condition as of now. The department also says that the building did not have sprinklers. One resident, though, said their unit was not affected, but says the smoke alarms gave them good warning to leave.
Kind of sad, you know, because it could happen anywhere. I kind of thought it was spectacular, but in a bad way, because it was a spectacular fire. But I was just hoping that the whole place wouldn't go up.
So South Metro Fire says because of how the building is built, the hallway is filled with smoke to a point where a lot of people could not evacuate out of their front doors. They had to go to their balconies instead, and that's where firefighters rescued them. So the sheer size of this apartment complex also played a role in the amount of first responders that came to this complex today to respond to this fire. If you were driving over on Parker Road, you may have seen quite the backup in traffic, as well as a lot more first responders. Tom, the fire department estimates that around 350 units are in this complex in total.
Yeah, pretty good impact. Okay, thank you very much, Luis.
Right now, a voter's ballot is locked up in a cabinet marked evidence at the Adams County Elections Office.
That happened after election workers found a suspicious powdery substance spilling out of that ballot envelope. Police, paramedics, and the FBI were notified. But testing shows that ballot was full of cooking substances and an unknown chemical. Initial test results are negative for anything toxic. The county clerk and recorder says election workers will move forward with processing the ballot. And even if the ballot had contained something harmful, the elections office would mark it as damaged and send the voter another ballot.
It's their constitutional right to be able to vote. And as election officials, we're going to protect that right. The only time an American loses their right to vote is when they are actually convicted and incarcerated on a felony.
Well, the county clerk and recorder says this was a first for Adams County, but he said in just about every election, an elections office somewhere in the country will receive a ballot filled with some sort of powdery substance. Big rumors swirling about who might be the next to buy into the NFL. Who's going to purchase the Washington Commanders? Well, the list includes some big names who may be throwing their names into the hat.